Hello, my name is Kayla Gallup, and today we're going to go over what emotions are and what we all experience, that we all experience emotions in our life. We can teach our children how to control their emotions, and then strategies to help children with their emotions. Now, what are emotions? These come from events or things that cause us to feel happy, mad, frustrated, upset, etc. When I did my parents' needs assessment, parents said that their children would get upset over their Netflix buffering, sharing toys, their siblings bugging them, food, movies, a change in a routine, not getting what they want, and being told no. I remember with my cousins, I have 4 of them, and 2 of them are older than the other 2. And whenever they would come visit, we would play, the 2 older ones and I would go upstairs and play Life. And then the 2 younger ones would follow us because they wanted to be a part of something. But they were too young to play Life, so we would always tell the children, no, you can't play with us. We're sorry. How about you go downstairs with your parents and play with your toys or something like that. And my 2 cousins would start screaming and crying and wanting to play with us. So this brings us to, what is emotional regulation? This is where we take control of our emotional responses during an emotional situation. And it helps us control. Now, we can help children learn how to emotionally regulate their emotions by knowing that it takes time for our child to learn how to regulate their emotions. It's going to take practice and different strategies to help our children know what's is the best way for them to know how to regulate their emotions. Research says that there are 3 ways a child can learn emotional regulation. The first is neurological maturation. This is where a child's hardwiring in the brain and nervous system needs to grow and develop over time. So that just basically means that with children, it's going to take time, and they're going to have to develop those skills because their brain is not all the way developed. And if you think about it, as adults, we still are learning how to regulate our emotions and finding new situations to help us. And then the second one is temperament and developmental status. This is where a child may have harder times regulating their emotions due to language delays, learning difficulties, attention deficits, and difficult temperaments. Have you ever had a child want a certain type of food and they're just pointing to it and they're not really saying anything, or they're just mumbling and you don't know what they're saying? You're confused. And the child's getting upset because you're not understanding what they mean, and there's a language barrier. So that's an example of that. There are some ways that I've heard that parents and educators will use a sign language board to help children point out to what they want so that the parent can understand what the child means. Now, the third one is parental socialization and environmental support. This can come from how different families talk differently about their emotions or how they express their emotions. Children who experience a lot of stress, lack of stability, and predictability in their homes have more problems with emotional regulation. So, an example of this would be my family. We don't really ever talk about our emotions. I'm probably the one out of my family that does try to talk mostly about how I feel, but we never really talked about those strategies to help me with my anxiety and when I feel sad, and give me that toolbox of strategies I need. And we all kept to ourselves. And then with my husband, his family is more about, let's sit down, let's talk about what's going on, what's bothering you, and then just really talking about what's going on and how they feel. Now let's get into how to regulate your child's emotions. The first is by having a routine. And by having a routine, you should have clear house rules, consistent boundaries, and predictable routines to help your child know what to expect. So what you could do is have a schedule posted in their bedroom, on the refrigerator, or wherever you can think of, where it tells them what they're going to do throughout the day. Just like when we go to school, in elementary school, we would see what we'd be doing throughout the day and what times everything would start and what subject we were going to have. So we could do something like that with our children, and that they know what they're going to be doing day to day. So such as getting up, brushing your teeth, using the bathroom, taking a shower, getting dressed, go to school, come home, do homework, eat, etc. And this can just really help a child daily get into a routine to help them not have a meltdown. The next is encourage your child to talk freely about their emotions. And we can encourage our children to talk freely about their emotions by knowing it's not always okay to act on our emotions and how we feel, but it's always okay to talk about our emotions with others. Avoid saying, you shouldn't be upset over that. You'll get over it. And don't be sad. What we should say is, what we should do to help our children is label their emotions accurately, encourage them to talk about them. And as a parent, you should feel free to talk about your experiences, about how you felt in a certain situation when you were a child or a few years ago. And that would really help your child with connecting with how you felt, and that we all have these type of feelings and that we may experience similar things in our lives. And the next is teach your child to take deep breaths. And this can really help your child calm down. And this is what a lot of parents said in my parent needs assessment, that they teach their children to take deep breaths when they're upset, frustrated, screaming, crying. And another one I got from my parents' need assessment is what to do when they feel a certain emotion. The next is we should help our children problem solve. With helping our children problem solve, we as parents need to be aware that our children have emotional outbursts at times because they have not learned strategies to help them. And we can help our children think of different ways of responding to a situation and their consequences. So, as adults, we know how to problem solve, saying, if I don't take this test, then I'm going to fail this class. And that's what we need to teach our children, to think about a certain way like that. And that thinking, well, if I take my sister's toy from her because I really, really want to play with it, then she's going to get upset. But I'm already upset because I can have it. And then as a parent, you can just help your child discuss the if and then statement, saying, if I do this, then this is my consequence. Or help them imagine different scenarios and different ways to help them with problem solving. Also, we can set an example with how we as parents regulate our own emotions. As parents, we can model emotional regulation to our children. Children tend to copy us. I remember when I was a little girl, and those cousins I was talking about earlier in this webinar, they would always copy me. So monkey see, monkey do. If I raised my arm, they would raise their arm. If I started dancing, they would dance. If I started saying a certain phrase, they would copy it. Children, they look up to us. They look up to their parents, and they look to see what's okay and what to do in certain situations. So imagine you're outside and you are mowing your grass and the lawnmower won't start, or you're mowing the grass and the lawnmower runs over something and stops working. Instead of cussing up a storm or screaming at the lawnmower and at the situation, you can talk about how you feel instead of the other option I just talked about. And then we can talk to our children about the ways we talk about our emotions and how we cope. So instead of driving and screaming at someone that cuts us off and cussing them out, we can be driving and say, I don't like that this person cut me off. And then tell your child, I'm going to take a deep breath now, instead of screaming. And the next is have positive inner thoughts and positive self-talk. So we should think positively and talk to ourselves positively. So when we're teaching positive talk, this is to help our children to calm down, and we can teach our children to silently tell themselves things such as, think happy, I can calm down, I'm not going to allow that to get to me. Or I'll feel happier in a little bit after I go listen to music. This is to really get rid of the negative thoughts and helps us feel better about ourselves and calm down. The next is to teach the stages of buildup of tension. As parents, we can see in our children when they're starting to get frustrated, and we can just tell our children, this is what I see, and this is what we can do instead to get rid of that tension. And the next is teach the turtle technique. Now, the turtle technique consists of positive self-talk and problem solving. This takes two of the previous strategies I talked about in the last slide and makes it the turtle technique. So you want to ask your child to imagine that he or she has a turtle shell that they can retract into. After that, teach your child how to go into their shell by telling them to take 3 deep breaths. You would say, stop, take a deep breath, calm down. As your child is taking a deep breath, tell your child you will like to see them focus on their breathing and to push that air from their lungs into their arms and legs. And when you're telling them to push the air from their lungs into their arms and legs, so this is just to help their muscles relax. Because when you're upset or you're mad or just in a huge emotional state, you're going to be tense and you're tensing up those muscles. So we need, in order to calm down, to get relaxed. Then you may encourage your child to picture a relaxing picture or scene. They might picture going to an amusement park. Maybe they're imagining a beach. You can imagine anything that's calming to them or relaxing. And as your child is taking deep breaths, coach your child to say positive self-talk. And positive self-talk again is, I can calm down. I'm not going to allow that to get to me. I'll feel happier in a bit when I can calm down and take time for myself. Or I can practice, as I practice more, I will do better. And I will do better on that test the more I study. Encourage your child to stay in their shell until they feel calm and comfortable to come out of it. And with the turtle technique, you want to practice a few times to get used to it and to really know how to do this technique. Also, feel free to model to your child this technique, because when you're modeling this technique, they're going to copy it. Like I said in the previous slide, children look up to our parents, and we're the best example and thing that we can do for our children by showing them what we should do in situations that are hard or emotional compared to what we should not do. So I challenge each of you who is watching this video to practice one of these techniques for a week independently with yourself and with your children. After the week is up, comment in the comments on if you've seen any improvements or not, as well as any questions you have to help you better implement these strategies. In conclusion, remember that we all have emotions, and that emotions come from a thing or event that creates us to feel a certain way. We can find ways to help our children control their emotions, but it does take time and practice. There are multiple strategies such as the turtle technique, deep breathing, timeouts, positive self-talk, etc. to help ourselves and our children with their emotions. Thank you for watching.